Hey, what's going on, guys? So last year around Christmas time, I made a Christmas ornament using a Gundam artifact kit of the Biolarnt to make a Biolarnt custom painted Christmas ornament. And so this year I wanted to do another one. So I found one of these. It's just an empty Christmas ornament, kind of clear ball that you can just actually open up. And I thought it'd be cool to paint up one of these Gunpla mini kits, like the mini Gunpla kits here of the new Gundam, and paint it and put it inside the ball here. I do also have the kit here of Axis as well. So we'll take a look at these, paint them up, put them inside this ball, and make a Gunpla Christmas ornament. Let's go ahead and get after it. Alright, so just to take a quick look at the kind of ingredients that we're going to be using here. Like I said, this is the Mobile Suit Gundam mini kit collection. This is from volume... Well, I don't think actually this was from... There was a couple of volumes of these. I think this one was actually one that was just like a special standalone release here of the new Gundam. It's also a clear kit. I think it was released maybe with an issue of Hobby Japan, I suppose, although I don't recall. But anyway, as you can see here on the back, there is just really only a few pieces. There's just a single clear runner inside here. So it's going to be very basic, and so we are going to be needing to do a little bit of like extra work on this before it's even ready to paint. The clear runner is just going to look like that, which has gotten a little bit yellow over there, unfortunately. But it's not going to stay clear, at least I don't think so. I don't know, I may change my mind, change my plan for it ultimately, but I don't think so. I think I'm just going to paint it. I'm not going to mess with leaving like part of it clear, I don't think. But I've got some time to kind of think over that. As you can see, it is pretty nicely detailed. But it's got some stuff like here for the shoulders. The backside of the shoulder armor and the backside of the forearm is just a hollow gap. So like if I'm thinking to paint the entire thing, I have to fill that in with putty. Obviously, if I'm going to leave it clear, though, I can't like stuff a bunch of putty in there or anything. So I'll have to think about that. The other kit here, like I said, is of Axis. Now this is from one of the sets, although unfortunately I was hoping it would say on here, but this is number 13 from this set. I think they were in like sets of 14 maybe, something like that. But this one is also clear. As you can see, just made up of a few parts. Going to be a little bit more simple to paint this one inside and then maybe like Axis on the outside, or put both of them inside. So I think the first thing that I need to do is just basically cut all these parts and put it together first so I can kind of figure out how I want everything to kind of go together. Alright, so now we've got everything all put together. Well, the new Gundam and Axis here, and I wanted to see like kind of how everything's going to fit, and size-wise, it looks like the new Gundam's actually going to be a little bit tight just because of those funnels. And yeah, it looks like the funnels are actually going to make it a little bit too tall to fit in there. Now, there's a couple of things that we could do. What I could do is just cut a little bit out of the ornament and just let it actually be sticking out, which I don't really have a problem with that. I think that could be a good way to go. It also means it's going to be kind of tight to try to fit both of these kits inside this ornament. Now, I do have a larger size ornament. I got two sizes because I didn't know which one I was going to ultimately want. But I think I want to stick with this one and just do that. And what I think I want to do with Axis is have it be on the outside of the ornament. Now, fortunately, because of the way that this little mini kit is made, it has this little stand and this little peg to the ornament. Super easy. So really the only modification that I need to make here is just to cut a little gap for the fin funnels to be able to be sticking out, and I think the new Gundam will actually be a really nice fit inside of there. So, with that figured out, the next step is going to be just working on the model itself. Now, with it all being clear, it's kind of difficult to do that. It's really difficult to see the details and where there's little mold lines and things like that. And like I said, I want to fill some of the hollow gaps. I pointed out the gaps in the arms. There is also gaps here in the leg, on the inside, or something like that. Might be kind of cool. I think I'm going to opt to just go completely opaque with this, fill in all the empty spots, and just paint it kind of normally. So the first thing I want to do is just give it a light coat of primer. Just spray over everything just so that we can see the kit a little bit better. We'll get some putty in those gaps and we'll have to work on that, and then just some basic cleanup, and then we can get to painting. Okay, so now that we can see what we're working on a little bit easier, I can see there's going to be, you can see there's like a little bit of mold line here and there, but it's really just these gaps on the inside of the legs, which there are quite a few of them on there. And then like because of the way that this is molded, the V-fin is like an actual fin rather than like a kind of pointed piece. So I'm just going to cut that a little bit to make it a little bit nicer shaped. We'll get back to that later. For now, the first step is just going to be using some 2-part epoxy putty to fill in those gaps. As for axis, there's really not a whole lot of cleanup to do on this. There's like a little bit of mold line on there, like this lower part here is kind of like a seam sort of. So I think what I'm going to do is just glue this. And then just going to use some Tamiya basic type putty, just kind of put some putty on there just to kind of add some texture and sort of hide that line a little bit. And that's really like extra work before we get down to painting it. So we go ahead, get this taken apart, get our putty mixed up, and get to applying that on the kit. Alright, so that's everything. So we got both the legs filled in, both the back of there as well that need to be filled in. So now we wait, or I'm going to have to wait until tomorrow for this putty to cure and I can start working on it, sanding on it. I may even give it 2 days for this epoxy putty like this. I feel like giving it a little bit more time is probably beneficial, but for you guys, fortunately for you, it's just going to be the blink of an eye. So see you right after this.
3 days later.
Okay, so the putty is all dried and cured and everything should be all good to go. I've already started work on cleaning up some of the parts. It's like here on the back of the head, the back of this arm is all done pretty much. Now, once we get some primer on there, I may notice some stuff that may need some additional cleanup, but for now, like this arm is all done. It looks pretty clean. The leg's definitely the most challenging section because there's a lot of little bits and some of them are just like kind of quite small areas and you just kind of have to be very slow and meticulous, kind of careful when getting rid of the putty, like filing it down and getting it all kind of nice and smooth and flat. But it's coming along nicely, so I feel like shouldn't be too much longer now just to kind of finish some of the cleanup here on these. And then we'll be ready to spray some primer on there. My plan for the primer is just to use some gray for that. And then, like I said, there may be a little bit more further cleanup required, although I'm not expecting too much. One other thing to point out, like I said, I did want to cut down the V-fin a little bit just to make it a little bit more fin shaped, or less fin shaped anyway. But I'm basically just going to do this just with the knife, just kind of whittle this down just until to make it like a thinner, to basically be like that. So there you can see that one is much more thin and proper looking. It could even be even thinner, but just for how small this is, I think that's plenty enough just to make it look better than it was before. And again, it's going to be kind of hard to say before we get into like priming it again and painting, but you can see it's quite a big difference there between the two. As for axis, I did glue and sand a little bit, and then I just kind of patted some putty kind of all over this just with the toothpick just to kind of give it some nice texture. Again, I think it'll look correct once we get some more primer on there. Again, it'll give us a better idea, but this one I think I'm going to be hand painting anyway just because of the nature of it and kind of how it looks. The new Gundam itself I'm planning on airbrushing for at least the main color, and then for some of the details I'll be hand painting, but this is just going to be entirely hand painted other than the primer. For the primer for this one, I am just going to use, I think, black, just because I think that'd be just a much more appropriate color for that. So the only other thing I'm kind of anxious to do at the moment here is just to make our cut in the actual ornament where the fin funnel is going to be sticking out at the top. I don't want the feet like all the way at the bottom, as then I think just the composition of this will look a little bit nicer if the Gundam's maybe just a little bit higher up there, and that's fine. I'll be able to put a rod down here at the bottom to make the Gundam a little section of this that I need to cut out. I think that looks pretty good. Let's just test it out. Now, like I said, the Gundam's gonna be a little bit kind of elevated from where it is at the moment, but it's gonna be in there something like that, which I think is gonna look pretty cool. Alright, so let me go ahead and finish all the cleanup here. And as for what I'm doing for cleaning up, anyway, just the tools I'm using is just a flat metal file, a half round metal file, a sanding stick, and